and then it just becomes a matter of me going into a meditative state and blocking out and driving away whatever they're doing. Sea salt water, it's like holy water. It, when used properly, it acts as a barrier that nothing negative can enter. You sort of have to develop your psychic ability, and when you do that, you become aware of when somebody's trying to do a psychic attack. And there are protection spells that you can do for yourself. Rebound spells work the best. It's like throwing a tennis ball at a brick wall. Like Solomon, for instance, he's seen as one of the greatest sorcerers or magic users of all time, where he used the God of Abraham as the God that he prayed to and asked for everything. He would call upon the archangels to do a lot, and there are still a lot of magic users who use the archangels. Aleister Crowley used to belong to the Order of the Golden Dawn. He kind of went off on his own and started his own branch of the Golden Dawn. He and Mathers were responsible for putting out the Goetia, which is the lesser key of Solomon. Aleister Crowley had more to do with that than Mathers did. And I know Aleister Crowley and MacGregor Mathers, more Crowley than Mathers, is responsible for how modern day witchcraft is sort of done. They put a whole new modern socially acceptable spin on it all. So a lot of stuff that's done today is done in reference to those two. Then to summon a certain spirit, or I'll just outright invoke a god or evoke a god and ask them to do it. Invoking a god is stronger than invoking a spirit. A spirit will work for almost anything, but there are a few things that they won't. So that's when you would go an extra step and invoke or evoke a god. Because a lot of times when you try to invoke a god, they won't invoke directly into yourself. They'll evoke themselves around you. And then that's when you state your case, what you need, and if they feel the purpose suits it, they'll grant you the ability to do it. And what they grant you tends to be a lot stronger than what a spirit would give you. That's the major difference. It's another tool people use for summoning, but a lot of times it'll summon something they don't want, because a lot of inexperienced people tend to use them, and they're like, oh, I want to call my grandfather or my great-grandfather. Well, the thing with the Ouija board is something to that effect. If they're using the directions that come with it, they are opening a window through the veil between life and death, and they're calling for somebody, but it could be anybody who answers. And I've actually dealt with experiences where people have called their great-grandfather and ended up getting a serial killer. Like, I don't believe in demons per se. I believe that there are spirits that are very evil with intentions, and they are usually what tend to be known as demons. There are hundreds of ways to purify yourself, because they tend to attract themselves to whatever they like that's negative about you. Just don't fear it. You have nothing to fear. Good will always triumph.
Yes.
And that's how we try to act. It gives you a whole new respect for everything, even for each other. As a sorcerer, I can see a tree and it has its own life, its own spirit. It's a complete living individual. And everything around us is like that. I keep saying it's a fascinating thing to learn and an even more fascinating life to live.
Although it is probably certain that there are darker witches out there, and certainly we know there are cults hidden in our society that are capable of the most depraved acts, it would seem that most witches are positive practitioners of the paranormal who wish no ill will. Hollywood may give the wrong impression of modern witches, just as the Inquisition did 500 or 600 years ago, for sensational reasons. But old-fashioned witchcraft is probably best kept consigned to the role of Halloween spook. There are, however, certain witch-like practices, such as Santeria, that can be extremely destructive and ultimately self-destructive. And those practices are probably best left unexplored in the darker recesses of the great beyond.